All right, hello watch fam. Welcome to my review of the Monta Skyquest. This watch retailed for $3,550 back when it was released, I believe, in 2018, and was a limited run of 500 pieces. Before we get started, a quick wrist check. I am wearing my Gerard Perigo 1996 Olympico. In this video, we're going to cover a brief history of the brand Monta, as I know this is a micro brand, so there might not be a lot of familiarity with the brand. We're going to talk about this GMT movement, why I like it, and this is a GMT movement that is featured in a couple other different watches that's in my collection. Then we're going to go through a deep dive of just the specs of this watch, finally wrapping it up with what I love, what I don't like about the watch, and just some initial thoughts. Monta started back towards the end of 2016 with the release of the first Ocean King, which retailed for $3,500. Easily, if you're searching in the used market, you can come in significantly less. However, Monta was justified in this approach, in my opinion, once you really got a chance to get hands-on with just some of the details and the level of quality that go into Monta. For starters, very similar to Oak and Oscar in the beginning, Monta started off using Eterna-based movement, which I believe comes at a significantly higher quality than just your standard base ETA movements. You also don't see Eterna movements often out in the wild, so for a little movement variety, Eterna-based movements was a pretty cool way to jumpstart a micro brand. Fast forward almost 6 years later, Monta is still here and kicking strong, and they just released some really cool GMTs, ones that I think is a little bit of a backward step in terms of quality, however look really great on the wrist. This particular review is on the Monta Skyquest Gilt Dial, the version 1 of this particular model. I actually owned a Skyquest Ocean King back in the day. I picked the Ocean King up used off eBay for right around $1,100, and I will tell you, for that price point, this watch had exceptional build quality. I regretfully sold my original Ocean King during a massive consolidation. I think I had about a dozen watches at the time. The Skyquest that I'm reviewing today was limited to 500 units. The Gilt Dial with a regular color bezel prevents it from being overwhelming with the two-tone appearance. I also think that the Monta Skyquest in Gilt has way better proportions than the Black Bay 58. You also get the added bonus of a GMT functionality that can track 3 time zones, and you have ceramic versus the aluminum bezel that you will find in the Black Bay. Monta really got their pricing, I think, more in line with what consumers are willing to pay for micro brands. You were able to pick up any of these Skyquest GMTs for just a little under $2,200, which is a significant savings over the Black Bay 58. So before we get started with the details of the watch, let's talk about the movement. This has been a movement that has been featured quite a bit on the channel. Solita-based SW330. This is a self-winding 24-hour GMT hand, chronometer tuned Swiss manufactured movement. So chronometer tuned, not COSC certified, but that a little bit underwhelming here, but Monta did fix this on the most recent version of the Skyquest. This particular version only came with 38 hours of power reserve, where the new movement is going to have 56 hours of power reserve. We also get some very nice movement and Geneva striping on the base plate and on the rotor. And I also like the touch of the engraved Monta logo. I really like the Monta logo. Unlike a lot of other micro brands that I've noticed, I'm not always really in love with the logo choice. Something about the Monta name and the Monta logo is very clean. For the record, the name Monta was derived from the mountains and gives a nod to the company's heritage. Monta is the team behind the strap company Everest, who made rubber straps for Rolexes, some of the best quality Rolex straps that you're going to find. For the movement on this particular model, the moving the crown clockwise is going to move the GMT hand, and this again can track multiple time zones. Moving the crown counterclockwise sets the date. The dial is gilt colorway, which means we're going to get matte black along with gold rhodium plated indices and little pops of red. That is the gilt colorway. If you're not familiar with it, I think it looks incredible. The hands are Swiss made rhodium plated unique sword style hands. They use this Swiss Luminova BGW9 color for the luminescence material. That is the same luminescence material that is applied to the indices. One of the things that I want to call out about the indices and Monta's just really genius use of the rehalt. There's two cool features that I've not seen on any other rehalt of another watch. The first are these little recesses that are cut out that allow the indices to sit perfectly. I think this was a really sophisticated and nice touch. The other thing that I really love about the rehalt is that you have odd numerals of the 24-hour markers going around the rehalt as well. This is very well done. In addition, you get these little bitty red markers that kind of denote where the indices are. If I was to have one gripe, it is the hands on Monta. I appreciate that Monta does use consistent hands. This is definitely in their design language. If it was up to me, I think the hour hand could be a little bit thinner just to bring a little bit more balance out to the watch, but that is me being extremely nitpicky. Working through the rest of the dial, you have the Monta logo and the Monta text right at 12 o'clock. And then at the 6 o'clock position, you have the name of the watch, the Skyquest. Also featured is 304 meter or 1,000 feet of water resistance. I think this looks really great, and I love that the way they did it, just giving you a little bit of red font, giving a hint on some of those vintage Rolexes that collectors go crazy over. You also have a date window at 6 o'clock that is framed in a gold plated trim that once again brings a level of upscale to the watch. One of my favorite features of this dial is the GMT hand itself. If you look straight on, you probably won't notice it, but has the GMT hand as the base hand, so it's the lowest hand, so they have it ramp up just to make sure that it can clear the indices. This really does add a very nice engineering touch to the watch. And then you get the bright red hand to distinguish it as your GMT hand. This is a GMT watch, which means that you can actually set the GMT hand independently of all the other functions of this watch. This is a killer dial. The bezel is unique in that it's a 72 click bezel versus 120 or 60. Monta did not take any shortcuts here, and from my understanding, I believe they use 72 click bezels to allow you to hit all the multiple time zones, and it sounds really great. You get this 72 bi-directional bezel, which means you can go in either direction. Again, we get ceramic bezel. I think this is incredible that micro brands are able to deliver such high quality materials. So we already talked about the depth rating on the case. It is 1,000 feet of water resistance or 304 meters. The watch is exceptionally finished, where you have high polish along the majority of the sides of the case. Your lugs are brushed, and then you get some really great high polished beveling along the lug. You have this really cool onion shaped crown. And with these I like these unique crown guards. I've not seen this shape before. Lastly, we get what Monta called a parallel flat sapphire crystal. And I was trying to figure out, this sapphire crystal is really, really clear, as you can see from some of these macro shots in the video. Monta uses a unique 7-layer anti-reflective coating that's applied to the inside of the crystal, which I think is brilliant, so you do not have to worry about scratching the AR coating on your crystal like so many watch brands do. I really wish they'd stop putting AR coating on the outside. I am typically not a huge bracelet fan, so take this with a grain of salt, but this is probably the best bracelet I've owned, next to the Jean Richard Terrascope that I reviewed, which I also think is a killer bracelet from an aesthetic standpoint. This looks amazing in addition to wear amazing. This bracelet has full articulation, which means every link can almost be folded down perfectly, and this will conform to almost any wrist type or any wrist shape. I find that the Monta Ocean King wears exceptionally well on this bracelet and feels buttery smooth all day. The new versions of the Monta bracelet have a quick adjustment now that's very similar to what you're gonna find on like the new Black Bay with the T-Fit. The bracelet is very well thought out. It is all about sizing. So you have multiple half lengths throughout the watch. The screws, just use normal screws that pop out and they go all the way in, so your watch is nice and secure. And I guarantee you probably have a screwdriver in your house that can easily accommodate the screw lengths without damaging a watch, which is something I wish more manufacturers did. You can tell that this bracelet is designed by someone that is truly into watches. No one wants to go to a jeweler to have their watch size. This should be as simple as Monta make it. And at this price point, you can't expect what the Cartier bracelet does. This, in my opinion, is the next best option. As I talked about a little bit earlier, the clasp is substantial and well constructed. You have plenty of room for micro adjustments, but you will need a tool to do that. I did find that very easy to do. This bracelet definitely does feel like it belongs on something along the lines of an Omega or a Rolex. I will tell you, I believe that this bracelet does deliver better than any Omega bracelet that I've owned, and that's including my new Heritage Seamaster 300. In my opinion, I still think if I had to choose, Sealander is going to win my money just based on the build quality you get, having very similar movements, and I do love the look. And at that price point, it's really hard to beat. However, I think the Monta and the Sealander can sit side by side in the collection without any issues. Just wrapping it up, and would love to share just a few of my thoughts. Let's start off with the dislikes. There are not many dislikes. These are all going to be extremely nitpicking things that if I was a designer that I would personally do. However, I am not a designer, and I think the team over at Monta has delivered an exceptional watch. So one, I would say the lug could be a tad bit shorter. 49 millimeters is typically perfect. However, I think because of the thinness of this particular case, I think we could have got this down to a 47 to 48 millimeter. I think shortening the lug would have made this case literally perfect. The other thing that I would call out is the interior part of the buckle is also a tad bit long, which makes the watch want to slide upward or downward depending on how the bracelet is connected. I will tell you, as I already called out, I don't necessarily love the hour and minute hands. However, I respect Monta's choice to stick with these hands in all their watches and keep it part of their design language. If it was up to me, I would make that hour hand a little bit slimmer. I do think that if they slimmed up the hands a little bit, that this would appeal to more people and would potentially be a Black Bay 58 killer. I'm not sure what the new Skyquest are going to be from an availability perspective. The last Pepsi white dial limited edition that they had on the website sold out in minutes, and I'm still kicking myself over that one. I actually think this looks better than a Black Bay 58 in my opinion, but I do think they appeal to two different crowds. I do think this watch is priced appropriately. I don't think it's a great value proposition, but if I was in the market for a new watch and I had $2,200 to spend, this would get a really tough look. You get a ceramic bezel, and I know a lot of watch companies now are pushing the envelope with different materials, but I think anytime you get a well executed and clearly just the attention to detail that Monta brings to their finishing in the watches is exceptional. Whenever you get a ceramic bezel under $2,200, I'm always going to be excited about that. I actually would say that Monta would be the Rolex of the micro brand world. Their availability is not there. However, I actually think their quality is also towards the upper end. But if you're looking for a GMT, again, off the beaten path, I've done now 4 GMT reviews on this channel, and I actually think the Monta makes a really strong contention as well. So with that said, as always, thank you for watching. If you have not done so, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. I am going to continue to try to put out content as fast as I can while keeping the quality somewhat respectable. If you have not done so already, please check out my Instagram page, JWill Studios without the S. This is where I post what I'm wearing, different watch content, and etc. So as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you all soon.